Ayo, keep it high, keep it tight. It's Jay Morris, the review guy, back to bring you another album review. And in this one, we're going to be reviewing the most recent Bullet for My Valentine album entitled Gravity. So this was released June 29th on Spine Farm Records, which is their new label. And it's 41 minutes, 11 tracks, 13 on the bonus kind of deluxe edition. And Bullet for My Valentine in 2015 released a pretty stellar, in my opinion, album entitled Venom. But this spawned a polarizing fan base where there was a dividing line drawn between the people who did not enjoy the new direction that they were going in, which had a lot more kind of softer parts. It had a lot less more metalcore inspired roots, which were the roots that kind of brought up the tree of their original sound, with them being one of the most popular bands in the whole melodic metalcore type of department, alongside bands such as I Lay Dying and Killswitch Engage. Well, you had on the other side the people that were like, the band's going in a new direction, and they were embracing this new direction as not only one that was going to help the band progress as artists, as any artist in a band does, evolving over time, but they enjoyed the sound. Well, the people that were not a big fan of Venom are going to be even more angry with Gravity. Now, where do I stand on this album? I think it might be my favorite Bullet for My Valentine album that they have ever released. It takes a more alternative metal and sometimes even new metal approach, and at times it sounds a lot like a Bring Me the Horizon new album. This sounds to me a lot like That's the Spirit, which was Bring Me the Horizon's 2015 effort, with this kind of tortured sounding vocalization and deep emotionally kind of like internal lyrics, blossoming over these slightly electronic, slightly heavy riffs with these soft parts that come and go. I feel like Coma is a good example of that. Coma is my favorite track on the album, and it reminds me so much of a song from Bring Me the Horizon, such as Can You Feel My Heart, but a little less heavy. More comparatively speaking, something off of That's the Spirit from Bring Me the Horizon, Throne. I can definitely see the comparisons drawn there, or Happy Song. There is definitely, I wouldn't say they may be taking direct influences from Bring Me the Horizon, but it definitely does have that type of aesthetic to the overall compositional type of foundation of the album. And I have to say, I enjoy this direction that they are going in. I think from start to finish, this is going to be an album that you're either going to like early on or you're not going to like. You start off with Leap of Faith, which I think is a good heavy opener that has a lot of kind of relatable lyrics. It has a lot of oomph behind it. And then you have Over It, which, if I remember correctly, Over It was one of the singles. It might have been the first single. Was it a single? I'm pretty sure it was. And then you have Letting You Go. I mean, I feel like this album, it's strange. My favorite tracks are in the middle part of the album, and it surprises me because a lot of times it's usually either the end or the beginning is really strong, and then the middle ground is kind of more of a weaker type of feel. Well, not with this, because Piece of Me and Coma and Gravity, the self-titled track, are some of my favorite tracks on the album. And overall, this isn't going to win over old fans, I don't think, especially if you weren't a big fan of Gravity. Although the two bonus tracks are actually pretty heavy. I mean, Venom, if you don't like Venom, Venom was a transformative period. And Gravity is somewhat heavier than Venom, but somewhat not. It's a toss-up. It's a very different album. You can't compare it to this Welsh band's previous discography. But overall, I think that it is a good album. I think it's a really good album. And for the sheer fact that some of these songs do sound like they took a lot of inspiration from other bands, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Because while this is a catchy listen, it's forgettable without being forgettable, if that makes sense. When you're listening to the album, you're really into it. It's really punchy. It's really catchy. You're into it. And you might even want to go back to it. But overall, when you compare it to other songs, other bands, other albums, I'm not sure how it's going to stand up in the pantheon of these alternative metal type of albums. Now, is this better than Breaking Benjamin's album that they released earlier this year, Ember? I can't answer that yet. I'm going to have to wait until the end of the year to see how, like, there's been so many alternative metal and rock albums that have been released that it's going to be difficult for me to make an actual decision on that whole ordeal. But I think this is a good album. I enjoyed it, and I want to know what you guys think. So please, in the comment section below, go listen to this album. Let me know what you think. Post in the comments below, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll shout your channel out. Please, it helps me out a lot. So I'll talk to you guys next time. But until then, my name is Jay Morris, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.
Oh no, what your mama gonna say when I tell her that I broke no heart? It's just things not the way that they used to be. Oh no, now you crying on the bathroom floor and I guess it's the end.